This episode of Her Design, Her Story is proudly sponsored by Royal Oak Floors, the founders of engineered oak flooring in Australia. Elegant yet durable, practical yet luxurious, Royal Oak Floors have formed the foundations of inspiring Australian architecture and interior design for over 20 years, with flooring products that are uniquely tailored to Australian lifestyles. Royal Oak Floors is proud to announce the launch of 4 new colours in its renowned Architect collection, the result of collaborative workshops in which design professionals shared emerging trends, unmet needs, and evolving preferences in Australian interiors. We're proud to partner with a brand that values craftsmanship, sustainability, and the stories behind every space. Explore the new colours at royaloakfloors.com.au. Today's episode features an inspiring conversation with Julia Levitt, founder of New South Wales-based landscape studio Nelson Thomas. Julia's journey into the landscape industry is anything but conventional. What began as a passion for outdoor spaces, plants, and creative design has grown into a thriving business built on vision, resilience, and hands-on expertise. In this episode, we explore Julia's career pathway from her early experiences shaping her interest in landscaping to the pivotal moments that led her to starting her own business. She shares the challenges of building a business, the lessons she's learned along the way, and what it really takes to turn an idea into a sustainable enterprise. An inspiring leader, a keen creative, and a strong visionary in the landscape industry, Julia's insights offer plenty to take away. We look forward to delving into her story and hear how she cultivated not just landscapes, but a business grounded in purpose and persistence. Julia, welcome to Her Design, Her Story. Thank you so much for joining me today. You've come down from Sydney, which is really exciting, to the delightful Melbourne weather. Nice and cold for us today. You have had an incredible career and do some really beautiful landscaping work, mainly out of New South Wales. But one of the things I find really interesting about your journey is the incredible array of things you did before you actually found landscape design. So I was wanting to go back to the beginning of your journey and talk a little bit about your study pathway when you were finishing school and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, of course. So when I was 18, I moved back from the States. Originally when I was 5, I was from Sydney. I grew up in Sydney. And then my family and I, we moved to San Francisco, where I did all my high school schooling time there. And then at 18, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I know I didn't want to go study in the States in universities. So I came back to Australia and I enrolled in a hospitality diploma, not knowing anything about it, just knowing that I really loved people and I loved working with people, and I thought that would be a good opportunity to further that.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting career choice, but it allowed me to do loads of different things and work and travel. So I did everything from travel agency. I worked as a florist, bars, hotels,
amazing,
all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I was able to travel across Europe and parts of Africa, Central America, working, chartering yachts, things like that. So it was all sorts of
incredible,
different, eclectic, opportunities, which was really lovely.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, I decided it's time to come back and get a bit more serious.
Yeah.
So I found myself in workers' compensation, which was not a career that I ever would have thought.
Yeah.
But it worked really well for me. I particularly worked for a rehab provider where I assisted people back to work after they'd been injured in the workplace.
Oh, amazing.
And this one particular client that I had, he really wanted to upskill because he couldn't return to the same line of work. So he said, can you enroll me in this course called landscape design? And I had never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So I looked into it for him and I thought, this kind of sounds interesting for me.
Oh, how funny.
So I approached my boss and I just said, I'll work 4 days and I'll study 1 day. And so that's what I did. And that kind of led me into horticulture and landscape design.
Oh, that's incredible. So how many years had that been since you had finished school and travelled? How long were you travelling for before you?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really
so
amazing.
Fun. What sort of drew? I'm sort of interested because obviously I know it can also be really hard when you finish school as well, because there's this whole plethora of opportunity out there, which, even though we can have career advice and all these things at school, I remember actually getting into university. I always knew what I wanted to do, but there were all these other courses. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you always have sort of an innate love of design? Was there something there before you fell into landscape?
I think for me it was always plants.
Yeah.
I just gravitated towards them even from a young age. Through schooling, I wasn't necessarily the most academic inclined.
Yeah.
I preferred to be there for the chats and the conversation with friends and things like that. So
fair. Yeah.
it wasn't for me. And, when I was 15, I got diagnosed with epilepsy. So
wow.
that obviously threw a bit of a spanner in the works and made it a lot more complicated. I had to work a lot harder than my peers and my classmates to keep up.
Yeah.
Medications made it really difficult for my memory. I had ADHD or have ADHD. So that also, affects the way that you process information and how you retain it. So my memory was just always shocking through school. But one thing that always stood out was plants. I can just remember botanical names.
It's amazing because I
strange reason.
Terrible with plant names.
I know, and it's kind of nice because a lot of people don't remember plant names. So
No.
even if you're mispronouncing your Latin, nobody knows,
Yeah.
And it's for me, it's also the leaf attributes and all sorts of different characteristics of the plants for me that just resonate, and it's something that I can just really connect and remember really well.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's definitely something is not my strong point. And often clients will say, oh, can you just help us with these plants? Absolutely not. Which I want to touch on more shortly. In terms of, so you're studying landscape design. How long's that course where you were studying in Sydney?
So at the time, I was only doing it part-time.
Yeah.
So it was 4 years.
Yeah, it's quite a big
So it's
one.
quite long. Yeah. So now I think it's a little bit shorter, but at the time it was a lot. I did some night classes because I was working full-time. So,
wow.
it was a lot.
Yeah, that's incredible. I often think, in that creative space as well, or that sense of, I guess, following your intuition as well, often can be a reflection of people around us, or, that sense of support. Was there anyone in your family or any friends when you were growing up that had that creative side to them, or that sort of inspirational side?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a really large extended family. I'm one of 4 siblings.
Oh wow!
And I've got 5 aunties, 5 uncles, and lots of cousins. So I've got a big family, and a lot of those members are parts of different creative fields. One's a singing teacher, one was big into floristry, so all sorts of kind of different outlooks, essentially.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mum was was very engaged with the garden and kind of invited us to get our hands dirty. We moved around quite a lot into lots of different houses, and a lot of them were quite small backyards. So my mum always made it a priority to make it beautiful and spend time in there and put new flowers and teach us the names. And so that I do have really fond memories of that and really enjoying that time. Also, both my parents love the outdoors, so they would always encourage us to get out. Living in the States, we had beautiful national parks over there, these incredible national parks. So we would go on hikes and they would just encourage us to really sit in nature and appreciate it. I think at the time I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. This is great. But I think, it's actually such a joy to appreciate it because it's around you all the time. And if you just completely disregard it, it's something special.
And I guess it's like that sense of being in a built environment as well. It's sort of how it can make you feel or resonate, or, the different kind of style of landscape as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful. Yeah, it's funny. I grew up in New Zealand, and every time we go back now, I'm sort of blown away by the scenery there in my bed.
Oh my gosh.
Like for years we would drive you, through New Zealand and you'd roll your eyes.
Yeah.
And, so I think you just get to an age where you actually really start to appreciate some of that. That
the beauty
around you. Yeah, absolutely. So you've studied landscape in Sydney. What was that progression like for you when you finished study? Did you move quite rapidly into a landscape design sort of role if you're working at the same time. How did that sort of evolve for you?
It was a very organic, I guess I can say, transition. I was in my final year of studying, and Fiona, who was a peer, had been approached by a friend of hers to design a garden. And so she said to me, do you want to help?
Yeah.
We can do it together. And we both surprised ourselves by loving working together on the project.
Yeah.
We thought it was, we found that we had different skill sets that complemented each other beautifully. And so we just sort of said, let's do this. Let's make this official. So Sticks and Stones was born at the time. And I was still working full time. So, you know,
Oh, wow.
I would be designing the website during my lunch break and drafting designs on lunch breaks, and after hours cold calling, you know, architects, trying to get the word out about Sticks and Stones.
Yeah.
And after a year of that, we had enough pipeline and clients and projects ongoing that I could come on full time. So it was really scary because, you know, you're giving up a proper career path to engage in this new career path. But I think it's also about trusting in yourself and each other. I was really lucky to have her by my side. And I think also just knowing that there's no other option, because by that point, I really didn't like workers' compensation. It had done its deed, you know?
Yeah.
I needed, and I loved the creative aspect of running your own business because every day is different. So we just made it work.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it began.
Oh, that's incredible. So that was around 13 years
Yes.
ago now, which is amazing. I know stepping forward now, you've had a rebrand, Nelson Thomas. Can you talk a little bit around what that sort of transition was like in the name change?
Yeah,
I think
sure.
it's really interesting.
So at about 8 years, we had established ourselves and our brand and a good reputation and a network of architects and designers that we worked with regularly. So the gardens that we were producing were very different to what we produced, you know, when we were designing Fee's friend's place. So we wanted a name and a brand that reflected our work, essentially. And we felt that Sticks and Stones was no longer that. So we changed it to Nelson Thomas. So Nelson is Fee's maiden name and Thomas is my maiden name.
Oh,
so for us, it felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting. So I know at the moment Fee's now stepped away from the business. Has that sort of changed your role? I guess, have you kind of had to step up a little bit in how you run the day-to-day? What does the structure of Nelson Thomas look like at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, she wanted to prioritize family and just life outside. So I've taken over and my role has changed. I'm still doing all of the sales, the marketing, that aspect, and with the plant design as a focus. But I've also sort of stepped into the role of creative director. So I'm really lucky. I've got a really fantastic team of designers that I just trust so well. You know, they have a lot of information that I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the good thing, right? You surround yourself with people that are better than you at certain things because you can't do it all, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of oversee all the projects now. I work a lot closer with the designers than I did previously, while still sort of balancing that marketing, sales, bringing in new revenue, that sort of aspect of the business.
Yeah, there are a lot of hats to
A lot of
cover.
hats. Yeah, just constantly swapping.
How many designers do you have in your office currently?
We've got 3.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So you're mainly focused on the higher end, I guess, residential projects.
Yeah.
That sort of,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think that idea of collaboration is really interesting as well, coming from more the house part of a project, you know, with the interior design. Often we were talking earlier about that that component of landscaping. I always see it as really important, particularly given a lot of design is affected by what you see out the windows, which sounds silly, but, you know, there's often that idea of a sight line or I've had a couple of projects recently where we've had the opportunity to do a really beautiful courtyard space and how that planting resonates. Do you often, if you're working with architects and designers, is that something you're preferring to onboard right at the start of that client engagement process?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's incredibly valuable and for the clients to be engaged from the get-go, essentially.
Yeah.
we generally like it when an architect or a designer has sort of drafted up concepts. They've got the spaces in mind, those courtyards, those balcony gardens where they want softened, where they want transitioned, and the flow.
Yeah.
And to work with them and collaborate with them on how we can achieve that.
Yeah.
It's something that when I first started, 13 years ago, I think it wasn't as much of a focus.
Yeah, I feel like it's really growing.
Yes.
And maybe it's my age a little bit as well. Hey, I've just got older. But I feel like landscape has really stood its own, like it's a very important part of successful architecture and design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's really nice to see people prioritizing it.
Yeah.
And I think understanding the benefit that it does bring to a project. I mean, I think there's always been that, but I think it's definitely become more prominent and important to people. You know, especially living in Australia. It's crazy. I mean, we've got such a beautiful environment, beautiful seasons for a lot of the time, especially in Sydney.
Yes,
and
you've got that beautiful, slightly warmer.
Yeah, just a bit. But, I think that's just means it's an extension of living, and people I think really are leaning into that, which is beautiful to see.
Yeah, and it's funny, we also touched on that earlier about that idea of what often gets cut in a project, and I feel quite strongly about the landscape because it's often the thing that you actually want to establish.
Yes.
You want to give it time and get in there early, and it's something it's very hard to come back to.
Well, it's funny because a lot of clients, they initially want the instant, right?
Yeah.
So they move in and they get that and everything looks beautiful. But then you see them a couple of years after, ready to finally shoot, and they say, oh, do you know what? It's been so nice to just watch the garden grow.
Yeah.
And that for me is so lovely because it means that you've given them, I guess, that opportunity to just enjoy the process. And it's all part of it. It's really lovely.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredible. And it's also that patience game a little bit
big
as well,
time.
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
With the landscape factor. I think, we touched on that idea of that shift in landscaping. Have you noticed, because we often talk about architectural or interior design trends. This is probably a really silly question, but I hadn't really thought about it in terms of that landscaping. Is there a shift in what people want out of their landscaping?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well? Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, it was just all fire pits. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Like everybody wanted a fire pit, which it definitely makes sense because I think we in particular work with families like quite a lot.
Yeah.
And as families grow, their needs change. And that's important for us to understand. And having different zones for kids at different ages and the parents at different ages wanting to separate and have different areas. Fire pit is definitely an answer for that.
Yeah.
But now I think it's sort of moving into wellness. A lot of
Of
people are
course.
creating wellness spaces and they're seeing the benefit of nature and being out in the garden. So there's sort of saunas are being put in the garden and things like that. So there's definitely patterns. And, that goes into plants as well.
Yeah.
Plants are trendy, plants are not trendy. And it's like anything like fashion, it cycles through for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. With that wellness aspect,
Yes.
I think that's really interesting because it's coming through from an interior side as well. Is that something you will often design into the landscape, those saunas and that kind of?
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
really
Yeah, and how that flows and connects to the house as well and the living spaces. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing. I know obviously, 13 years in business is really incredible. And I think given, I think that's wonderful. And obviously over time, a credit to you and Fee that you have obviously built that wonderful sense of relationships. I think, in any design field, that sense of relationship and collaborations it's a big one. What, I guess, in a moment of personal reflection, are there any sort of key attributes that you feel that you possess which have really helped you with that longevity and that resilience of keeping things going?
Yeah, resilience is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
But I think I always like to remind myself that nothing great ever comes out of the comfort zone. So, I'm always pushing myself, like today, to do things that make you uncomfortable because, otherwise you stagnate. And I think it's always really important to grow as a business and evolve.
Yeah.
So that's something that's always on my mind. hardworking. It sounds so obvious, but it really is. You have to be hardworking, but also have the ability to be flexible.
Yes.
And adapt because,
Yeah.
things change very quickly, the economy, things like that. And you have to be able to pivot to make things work better. And also just having the insight to acknowledge that something isn't working.
Yeah.
You can't get stuck in how something is flowing. If it's not, then just recognize that and then sort of grow and move forward from that.
Yeah, which is really interesting because I think probably landscape, much like interiors or architecture, does get quite affected by the economic outlook. Can be a bit wavy.
Yes.
Yeah,
stressful, wavy.
I know, and it's funny. I remember when I had started working in architecture and the GFC hit.
Oh.
Now I'm showing my age. It was quite a long time ago. But I was so naive. And I remember looking around thinking, why is everyone so stressed? But the first thing that happened was I was in a really big architecture office and
cuts.
Yep, straight off the bat.
Yeah.
It was quite stressful to see that kind of cycle, which I guess is just always
completely
ongoing. Yeah. No, I think that's really interesting. In terms of, I guess, that business side, often in creative space, you have the role of creative director and obviously generating really beautiful designs, but also talking about that marketing and business side. Is that something that you find is a little bit more intuitive, or do you work with business mentors? How have you kind of evolved that, I guess, that business structure?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I always find it really interesting because I think that's often where people, I know for me I find those pivot points really challenging.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has worked really well for me is I am incredibly organized. I love organization. It's probably like a coping strategy for the chaotic mind, right? So for me, it's always been about building foundations for the business and ensuring that I have all of that in place, that structure. And then the sales side, I think, putting yourself out there a lot is what I've just kind of had to continue to do.
Yeah.
It does come naturally in the way that I love people. I love working with people.
Yeah.
And I think when architects and designers and clients, they respond really well to that. So, in the early days when I've been cold calling endlessly, architects and introducing myself and not necessarily having a portfolio, they're just going off trust or just giving it a go. It is obviously a bit scary and hard, but the worst that can happen is you get knocked back.
Yeah.
And so it was just, for me, it was more just about pushing forward. And, in the business side of things, I think that's really grown for me personally as I've grown. I never had the intention of starting a business. Like, that was never for me. I know some people are like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. And I always wanted to go down that path. That was never an aspect or an aspiration for me.
Yeah.
So I kind of just fell into it. But I think with all these other sort of skills, that's given me the foundations, and I've been able to build and grow that business side as well.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because that does take a little bit of risk, I guess, doesn't it? Because I'm often at that point of staff and how far do you push it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also recognizing your strengths, but more importantly, your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like knowing the areas that you need help in and knowing the areas you need to improve on and outsourcing based on that. That's always been very important to me.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very inspiring. I know you've got some beautiful projects underway. Is there any sort of next goals or anything that you're sort of aspiring to take your business further in the next year or two? Is there anything that's on your wish list?
I think I do just want to continue to grow as a business. I love the place that I've gotten it to, and the position that we are in the market. I think that's really special.
Yeah.
We worked really hard to get ourselves into that end of the market. But I think also we would like to explore commercial work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we have been doing a bit of that,
Yeah.
multi-res and things like that. And that's been really interesting from a landscape aspect because you get the opportunity to design for the public, which is really special.
Yeah.
It's not a private residence. So there's so many different people that will be using the space and that get to enjoy your garden, which is, for me, really exciting.
Yeah, I used to enjoy doing a bit of multi-res work actually from that interiors side because there was often a really strong story to it. you had stricter parameters, I guess,
Yes.
around what you were working to. But I guess in that sense of I'm also a bit obsessed with organisation, and that there was something I really liked. It was quite methodical in some respects.
Yeah.
But I have noticed in a great way those public spaces have really evolved, and I guess tie back into that idea of wellness.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
sense of urban retreat, and the landscaping was always really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's very exciting. Another thing I find quite interesting, obviously, when you are evolving a business and working across different types of projects and clients, I know you've got a wonderful niche in the work that you're doing. But is there anything you do for yourself to keep you really motivated and inspired for when those new projects roll around? I think it's quite interesting as a creative how we keep that momentum going.
Yeah. I'm always encouraging the designers to get out and go see for one plant nurseries.
Yeah.
Because they just, it's always good we're looking for different plants to put in. So it's not the same sort of species and looking a bit more redundant. So it's always good for us to explore different plants that are coming into the nursery and their uses and things like that. Also, I mean, a very obvious one, but getting out in nature and doing walks.
Yeah.
Because, lucky for us, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's just appreciating that. I mean, I work kind of all over New South Wales, but mainly in Sydney, and we've got a really special climate that is temperate, but also is probably getting more and more humid.
I know some amazing plants.
Yes.
They just don't grow like that down here.
Yeah, exactly. So we can kind of seek inspiration from everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's from California, the Mediterranean, but also even stuff in Southeast Asia. So you can get inspiration from those kinds of gardens. I was in Morocco last year, which was really beautiful. I'd been back there. I was there first when I was like 20, but to return, as an adult, it was really inspiring to go to the different gardens and those arid climates that they have and what thrives, and also just in a very dry environment, how calming a garden can really feel, and just those impacts that it has on you. So, drawing inspiration from that. And then I went across to Chelsea as well, completely different environment. But again, we can draw inspiration from that and those plants and kind of weave that into our designs, which is lovely.
Amazing. So I guess with where I often fall short is the maintenance.
Yeah.
Is that something if you're looking at new plant species, I guess there's quite a bit of research in there in terms of that climate and how to look after them and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes with a lot of research, consideration, lots of conversations with the nurseries. I know a lot of designers prefer to stick with plants they're comfortable with because of that reason.
Yeah.
But people don't necessarily come to us for that. So we really like to get a bit more creative with the plant styles that we use. But we don't go in blindly. We make sure that it is going to be suitable for our climate. I mean, you can get one plant that has one variety that definitely wouldn't thrive in Sydney, but then it has a different cultivar and it works really well. So you just have to know exactly what you're specifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I find it very interesting. I'm very aesthetic, and so I absolutely love landscapes, but I have no idea.
That's okay.
No idea.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. I know in line with your business, you have a busy life outside work as well with your twins. What does that you had started your business before you had children, which I guess in some ways is quite good, sort of
Definitely
gives you the opportunity to establish.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't
what's
think
happening at work. Did that? Yeah. How's that transition been for you?
Well, I think as you said, if I had the babies, the twins, when I was first starting the business, it would be a different conversation.
Yeah.
But I think having them, they're 6 now. So, it was obviously challenging at the time, but by that point, the business was fairly established. And now I see it as a real benefit to be able to be a business owner. I see a lot of my friends and they've got very rigid hours and they have to speak to their boss about getting time off to go to the class assembly,
I know, and there are so many things.
It's just,
which is great, but it is, there's a lot.
There's a lot of expectation on the parents, especially the mum, to be able to, change your work schedule and be there. And I'm so lucky that I can, because I really love going to those moments and they really love it, that I'm there. But, on the reverse of that, it also means that I have to make up time and so all sorts of different crazy hours. We could be on holidays and I'm working because I've got a deadline or I've got clients that need answers from me, things like that. So you never really do switch off.
No.
But, like everything, it comes with its pros and its cons. And for me, it's just really about being organized.
Yeah.
Same as you, love the
Yep,
organization.
love
So
organisation.
it really helps with the structure. As the kids get older, they have such a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
So my husband and I just always communicating very regularly with good processes in place to help support ourselves and each other.
Yeah, which I think is key. I feel like also if I've written something down or written it on a planner or something, it's kind of that mental load
off the exactly. You feel lighter.
I think there's also that thing as well of being able to, I mean, not always. I feel a bit the same as well. I'm about to go away for a week and I'm already thinking, got a few deadlines, like it's still working, but I mean, the ability to be able to do that's quite incredible.
Yeah,
which is really exciting. And I also think, for your kids as well, quite exciting that they can see the real product of what you're creating.
Yeah, I think it's really inspiring for them to see that I'm creating something meaningful. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just kind of going into work and that's sort of it.
Yeah.
And building something, which is really special for them to witness, essentially.
No, very exciting. Before we wrap, it's time to jump into her edit. So I want to ask you some quick questions before we finish today. We've been talking all things plants, so it can be a plant-related answer. But can you remember the first design-related purchase you ever made, whether it's landscape or interior?
Well, I've been thinking about this further. And I realized I did actually have an item that was quite prominent. My husband and I are big into rugs.
Nice. Yeah.
We splashed out and saved for this really beautiful 100% silk Persian rug.
Oh, stunning.
And it's like the pride and joy in the house, It sits like half under the bed. And so when you get out of bed every morning,
gorgeous.
Soft silk. Yeah, it's amazing. So I feel like that for me was a really special purchase.
Yeah, and one that can stay with you.
Oh, it's like one of those pieces that just gains value, right, as it goes on. Yeah.
Any items you're coveting right now, design, plants?
So in terms of like what we use in designs?
Yeah. Do you do outdoor furniture? Total digression. But
we do.
I'm thinking about outdoor furniture I love. Is there anything that's sort of on your wish list for yourself?
For myself?
I mean, it could be hard because we're always looking at great things, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, well, this is not really something on my wish list because it's recently been purchased. But we have a sauna, speaking of the wellness.
Amazing.
And it's been amazing. It's really lucky to have that in your home. So I can see, the benefits of everybody really wanting to incorporate. So naturally, now that I have it, I'm telling everybody, we definitely need to be putting this in the garden. You can see, it's amazing. So that's probably something.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, the design of them's evolved.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. Good purchase for winter.
Yeah, exactly.
Next travel destination, actual or aspirational?
So yeah, I mean, I've been so lucky to be able have traveled so many places. But I think now the kids are getting a bit older, I'd really like to take them to Japan.
Oh, fun.
I just think that it would be a really unique place for them to see. Also for me, from the plant and garden perspective, they have such incredible gardens there. Have you been?
Yes.
Oh.
And it's funny because I've got 3 girls.
Yeah.
And it was actually, we came home and everyone was on such a high. It sort of ticked all our boxes. It was me with the aesthetic and just that I had last been in Japan. My husband and I used to go there skiing before we had children.
Yeah.
Before our phones worked there. It was always a bit of pick your own adventure because you had no idea where you were. And being quite a visual person, I found it quite challenging not understanding where I was on a map.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So it was always great, but I never felt like I'd sort of really seen Tokyo or, some of those places. And it was obviously there's the wonderful aesthetics, but there's just joy everywhere. There's, little laneways, there's shops, there are these beautiful quirky, I mean, they're huge. We were actually staying right on this beautiful park, which was amazing, the scale of it in comparison to the sort of the gardens that the
Yeah.
locals actually had in
Yes,
their homes.
they're private. Yes.
Yeah, and the sort of all the beautiful little, I don't know, it was a wonderful sort of quirky scale. The outdoor spaces were very peaceful. A lot of it, you know, their temples were integrated into those spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a really interesting, again, terrible with plant names, but I think there was that sense of it was a little bit more organic perhaps than some of the slightly more English overtones that we see.
Yes.
I know lots of different designers here doing different things, but there was this sort of wonderful sense of organic scale.
Yeah.
Very green. It wasn't so floral, but yeah, no, it was a wonderful wonderful discovery.
Yeah, and they also treat them as like a sort of meditation.
Yes.
You know, the maintenance aspects of it. They're out there with the little scissors. And
and a lot
you
of
know,
the
which
shops
is-
had the beautiful bonsai sort of.
Yes.
I remember very fondly my grandfather was very into bonsais and I always thought they were fantastic. These
Yes.
quirky miniature plants. So no, it was a really interesting actually, and just where they have the moment to bring in almost in a meditative sense, I think, because the cities are so big.
Yeah.
You get these pockets of
That feel really special.
landscape. Yeah. But no, it was a great family holiday.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Perfect. No, it was a wonderful experience. But I think as, you know, someone who's also sort of interested in aesthetics, I think there was some really interesting things happening there.
Beautiful.
Yes. Definitely go.
Excellent.
Definitely go.
Excellent.
Favorite creative icon, living or legend?
Pete Oldhoff.
Oh, yes.
Do you know him?
Yeah.
Yes. He does the most
designer.
incredible work.
Yeah.
I really love the way that he weaves all of the different plants together in this just tapestry.
Yeah, the beautiful.
The plant knowledge he has is just incredible. But I think it's also, he's really brought a lot of understanding and joy to people through plants and all the different seasons that they can bring. And yeah, I think he's just a really inspiring designer.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's gorgeous. Final question.
Oh,
if your
gosh.
star was a celebrity, who would it be?
We were laughing about this in the office. I mean, it definitely had to be a woman.
Yeah.
So Meryl Streep.
Oh, she's heaven.
She is
Just
heaven.
having a big moment with her. For her at the moment, yeah.
I think, you know, she's a classy lady. You know, she always looks very put together. But I think also at the heart of it, she doesn't take herself too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we treat our gardens. You know, we like them to look beautiful, but be practical, but also just have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's gorgeous. Thank you so much for your time today, Julia. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you for having me.